to make it inside the city for the visitors or travelers that were coming from the sea. Let's make an example. They were importing fabrics or spices from another part of the world. From the ship, they would offload their cargo on a chariot and come this way on the same track that you took. To the right, a massive system of walls going around the eternal city. They are dating to the 3rd century after Christ. A massive system of walls still standing here for the majority of its extension, about 10 miles in terms of length, steady and stubborn. Opposite to us, in front of us, in the sun, the skyline of a pyramid. We are not in Egypt, but it was fashionable to have tombs in the Egyptian shape back then in the 1st century before Christ. That's the pyramid, wanted strongly as its tomb by a prominent member of a religious order called Caio Cestio. We made it virtually across the horses, pulling the chariots, 2, 3, or 4 horses if it was the emperor to compete himself. Released from the opposite edge, came running our way and went around the central part of the Circus Maximus in a number of loops, and the excited public would watch the games seated on the long sides of this extensive circus. Opposite to us, on the left, where the trees are. Opposite to us, on the left, you see a number of arches. That is not a bridge. This is a section of that aqueduct that was built explicitly to supply water to the imperial houses, to the imperial palaces. So any name you read about, Augusto, Tiberius, Caligula, Nero, Vespasian and his children Titus and Domitian, they all lived up on this hilly side on the left. Just a few steps away from the Maria Elena and Daniela, we'll be touring the visitors number 3.
Very free. Amazing what a lot of people can do being in their forces back then. They built domes, right? They built domes. I can't believe it's so symmetrical.
Tell her to come up here. They can't see candy here.
Yep.
they are reassigned to a sector, so the assistants help them to get access to their seats according to how important they were in the social pyramid. They would sit closer or further from the stage. There was no bad seat ever, just a knowledge revision. Like this, they were
Wow.
down there and look at it.
That's your favorite category.
So where would they come out and fight? Bringing the spectators upstairs. And this is going to the right. Well, here you have another place to fill in the place as quickly as possible. 80 entrances outside, and then the big crowd is at the shop. We're not going. Nothing closing. Nothing games in top of the lines have sticking edges in gray. Can you see those? Maybe someone is noticed that these are about 4 by 4 Those are the ridges to uplift the elevators. The cables for the admins, everything else for you. These lines, these ridges that connect these elevators and many of them at the top, right before the level of the arena. And the fleet was
a century before Christ, and it's still now in use, hidden to Brindisi, to southern eastern Italy. And this tower here, according to the most common tradition, is the tower where Saint Francis slept when he came to Rome in order to ask the audience with the Pope Innocent IV to obtain the acknowledgement of the order of the... Of course, they could ask the taxation for the traders who came out from the city. If you still look on your right, you can see the terraces, the arches that are part of this artificial enlargement of the Imperial Age Palace, and in a center you have to figure out the presence of a balcony. The valley of the Circus Maximus is really a valley, as you can see, and is located right between the Palatine and the Aventine Hill, the hill we have here on our left. And you can see the garden, the city rose garden, if you look on your left. That is planted where once there was the cemetery for the Jewish community in Rome. After the unification of Italy, the Jews had their cemetery, their burial area. Chariots were driven out, and they had to be driven around the central spin for 7 times, for 7 laps. Have you ever watched the movie Ben-Hur? Yes. Okay, so probably you will remember these of the port, because here along the banks of the Tiber there was the first city port of Rome. The main harbor was located out of the city, out of the walls, in the area of Ostia. Ostia is Latin, and Ostia is meaning mouth, because that was the mouth. Excavated area, ancient, because it's related to a very ancient building, the oldest site here, dating back to the 7th century before Christ. The arches, still looking on your right, you see here, gave access to the market of the vegetables in Rome. And looking on your left, the square designed by Michelangelo at the end of his life. Another staircase leading up to the church of the Altar of the Sky. And down here, made out of bricks, there's a humble building, can be defined like one of the first condominiums of the ancient times. nucleum for civil inhabitations for the middle of March the 17th, 1870, when finally Italy became a kingdom, a unified kingdom, ruled by the first Italian modern king, Victor Emmanuel II, portrayed as a horseman in the center. Victor Emmanuel II. Imagine that, just to give you an idea on how big was the belly of that horse, 20 people. And below the statue of the horseman, a female character representing the goddess of the unified Italy, the representation of Italy. Now, if you look instead on your this, and we now drive. We're driven now to get left, so in a few minutes we will see the facade of the president, Italian Republic President, the house, the Quirinal Palace, called the Quirinal because it rises onto the hill, not because of the man, but because you will be always the second in church, because the queen is always
Hello, che manca? Good. If we take that new room after this, we may be back.
See if we can get a selfie.
Pantheon. We still stop.
Colosseum. So it's one case of recycling of the building materials that was done back then. But it was okay to take what you needed for the sake of a new church. It's just a fountain that looks like and then have this.
Sea could definitely offload their cargo on smaller boats and come sailing to the city center with the convenient device of the river. A little accidental happening. Motorcycle is on the ground. Looks like it's nothing major to see the smoke coming out. Is it black? We're disappointed. Is it white? We can rush to the square because the Pope has been elected and soon he will be presented to us from the facade of St. Peter. This is our spot. Fabrizio brought us in quite a good time to the destination. We get down the bus. Bear in mind, no bulky bags, no sharp objects.